Hey guys, welcome to the Doghouse Podcast. We talk all things Georgia basketball, men's, dogs, hoops, back in the tournament, back-to-back years. Number 8 seed is playing number 9 seed St. Louis in Buffalo, New York. Can the Dogs make a run, beat St. Louis, and play Michigan? Talk about all that with Jon Tweets Sports, great return guest. Also, Jon gives us his thoughts on what he likes seeing for Georgia spring practice and the upcoming G-Day game. Sure to like, subscribe, share the Doghouse Podcast. That really helps out. Doghouse Podcast is back. Going to talk a little different dogs hoops. They're in the tourney this year. Great return guest, John Smith from Jon Tweets Sports on Twitter. How are we doing today?
Man, I'm fantastic, Trey. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be back. You know, a lot of times I go on folks' podcasts and I don't get invited back. So I must have been on my best behavior last time I was here. So I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Always good to have a fellow dog content provider. Yeah, it's always great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, looking at so Georgia getting in the dance again. As we know, Georgia fans, this is rare for us, back-to-back years, which is impressive. Georgia getting the 8 seed, going against St. Louis. Hey, what's that mascot again? I had a buddy telling me he looked it up last night.
It is the Billikens. Do you know what a Billiken is?
He said something like it's some type of luck or something. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. A Billiken is a mythical, pointy head, good luck figure. That's literally like when you look up a Billiken, it is described as a charm doll created by an American art teacher in Kansas City, Missouri. So it's not even a real thing, but I mean, go with it. Why not? The Billikens.
That sounds like that'd be a cheesy horror movie.
It does. The more you read about a Billiken, the more you're like, I don't know. I think they used to put in Coca-Cola, right? They used to put like actual cocaine in the recipe, and this was created in the early 1900s, and so it seems like something that may have been. I'm not making any accusations. It seems like something that may have been invented, by somebody that was got a hold of a good bottle of original Coca-Cola or something, because it's pretty wild.
Yeah, they sound like they were on all the drugs when they created that.
Yes, absolutely.
So Thursday, 9:45 p.m. I know Georgia fans are loving that. It'll probably be 10, 15 on CBS.
Easily 10, 15. Yeah.
And where's this at? Where's it going
to be? It's in Buffalo, New York. So, this is what I love about the NCAA tournament, Trey, is that they invite you to the dance. They put you in the Midwest region, and your first game is in Buffalo against St. Louis. It's like it's kind of like the college football playoff model. But at least the college football playoff, they kind of, in some of the matchups you get a little bit regional, but this one is way off the map, because you've got Michigan and Howard will also be playing in Buffalo. So very, very far off the beaten path.
Yeah, interesting. 2.5 point spread. Looks like it's going to be cold for those dog fans who travel there. But Georgia still a really good year, 22 wins. I believe this is the most wins in recent history. And
it is a program record for regular season wins. So it is the most wins that Georgia has ever had in the regular season. So that's definitely a good high watermark. It is also, you mentioned it, the first time Georgia is going to back-to-back NCAA tournaments since 2001, 2002. Georgia has only gone to the NCAA tournament in back-to-back years 4 times in program history. And Georgia, this is since 2000, including 2001, 2002. This will just be the 6th time that Georgia has made the NCAA tournament in the last 25 years. So pretty rare feat, which is wild when you consider that, we are the University of Georgia. But for fans who, I think a lot of fans have a lot of high expectations for the basketball program and the baseball program, as they should. You're Georgia, you should have high expectations, but you should also take a moment to recognize, like, man, going from literally 10 years of not making the tournament at all to making it back-to-back years, you got to start somewhere, and I think Georgia's at a good place to start.
Yeah, appreciate that, John. Before we jump right in here and do a little deep dive, why is it you think that Georgia, having all the resources that they have always struggled in being kind of a mediocre average team in basketball? And we have the Atlanta area. I know we're a football school, but just real quick on that, why do you think they've always kind of struggled in basketball?
Yeah, I think you said it. I think it's the stigma of being a football school. Number one, and I do think it's coaching. And Mark Fox was a really solid coach. He put together some really good rosters. But I do think ultimately, it's recruiting, right? So it's recruiting, whether it's NIL investment, whether it's facilities, whether it's overcoming the stigma of you're just a football school, all those things. I mean, you got to recruit, and Georgia hasn't had a coach that can recruit at the level that you have to recruit at, or can fight for the resources that you have to have. There was a recent somebody did a Freedom of Information request to SEC schools for their basketball operating budget. Now, operating budget is not NIL. It's literally just, it includes like Texas includes buyouts that they're paying their previous coaching staff that they fired, right? So it includes a lot of things. But Tennessee was 23 million, Texas 22 million. I think Kentucky was 22 million. Auburn was up there 20 million maybe. Ole Miss was 18 million. Mississippi State was 12 million. Wow. Basketball operating budget. Georgia's 10 million. Wow. So the literal investment in the program, again, operating budget means a lot of different things, but just has been a big thing. But ultimately, it's just recruiting. You got to have players in basketball, and basketball is one of those things where football, you're not going to have one player that's going to change the game. Baseball, you're probably not going to have one player that's going to change the game. Basketball, you can have, one or two players that can change the game, and Georgia just hasn't been able to get them until this year. They got a really, really solid roster.
Yeah, completely agree on all that. And I know with with all the one and dones and turnover in basketball, got to recruit, got to keep filling it up. Yeah.
Yeah, Georgia. I mean, Georgia. So Georgia, their leading scorer from last year was a one and done, Asa Newell, who was an NBA a top 30 draft pick, top 20 maybe draft pick. And then their second leading scorer, Silas Demery, who was an All SEC, SEC All Freshman team his freshman year, is now the starting point guard at UConn, who's a number 2 seed and top 5 team in the country. So. For Georgia for Mike White and to be able to rebuild the roster to get back to the tournament, to set a program record for wins in the regular season after losing, 2 players that, like, you lost an NBA player and you lost a guy who's starting for one of the top teams in the country, and you're able to bounce back. But that's the issue, right? You're going to lose guys all the time, and I'm glad I'm not a basketball coach. I'll say that. I'm glad I'm not a basketball coach. That seems like a nightmare to have to deal with.
Yeah, completely agree. And it looks like Mike White has turned around the program back-to-back NCAA appearances. I know probably got smoked last year by Gonzaga. I know that was disappointing. Maybe just got in front of a grizzly bear early on, bad matchup. Yep. But this year, did you agree and did you like, sitting there on Sunday getting the 8th seed, and do you like where they're at?
Yeah, I think Georgia, I will say this, we'll give the praise, we'll also give the criticism. I think Georgia had a golden opportunity to get a 7 seed, had a golden opportunity to actually a lot of the guys who put together bracket projections had Georgia as a 7 seed going into the SEC tournament. And then they lost that game to Ole Miss. And hindsight, now you look back at it, maybe Ole Miss was a buzzsaw. I mean, they beat Georgia, beat Alabama, took Arkansas to overtime. I mean, that team was playing out of their minds. Beat Texas. But I do think Georgia, if they would have won one game in the SEC tournament, they probably have been a 7 seed. That being said, I think 8 seed is where they should be. I'm not necessarily happy about it. I'm happier about this year's matchup than last year. Last year, I thought Gonzaga should not have been an 8 seed. I mean, Gonzaga was definitely an underseeded team. That was last year was just I think a consequence of you had so many good teams in the SEC. You had a bunch of good teams in the Big 12. It just stacked up at the top and pushed Gonzaga down. But an 8 seed, I think, is where Georgia should be.
Yeah, I like it. I'm excited about Thursday. So we got Jeremiah Wilkinson, Blue Cane. Looks like the catching kids catching has been hot lately. Looking at stats. And what do you think the biggest advantage, maybe concern going into this matchup against St. Louis?
Guarding. So Georgia's defense in general is a concern. Georgia is a top 3. I mean, they were the number 1 scoring team heading into in the country, heading into SEC play. I think they've dropped down to they're a top 5, maybe 3rd or 4th in the country in scoring. Tempo, one of the top teams in tempo. The offense, Georgia is incredibly strong. Defensively is where they struggle, and St. Louis can shoot the 3, man. And not only can they shoot the 3, but they have big guys that can shoot the 3. I mean, they shoot about 41% from 3, and Georgia being able to guard the 3-point shot and preventing St. Louis from just either there's potential like they get hot, they run away with it to a certain extent, or just being able to keep pace with Georgia's tempo. If Georgia's getting up and down the floor and scoring 2s on fast breaks and then allowing 3s on the way back, it could be really tough. St. Louis, high scoring team. They have struggled they're 4-4, I think, in their last 8 games. So they've struggled down the stretch. But it's a team that can shoot the 3, and I think if Georgia's gonna do what they need to do, they're gonna have to play defense. And this is a team that they totally should beat. But I was looking up his name while we were talking because I forgot his name, but that Robbie Avila kid who people remember him from Indiana State. He wears the glasses, kind of like Hot Rod Blankenship. He wears the glasses, the goggles when he plays. But that guy is 6'10", 240 pounds, and he shoots 32% from 3. So it's like, you're going to have Santos Surreal. You're going to have Kareem Stagg, Justin Abson. A lot of our big guys for Georgia are going to have to get out and guard on the perimeter, and that's what scares me about St. Louis.
Right. Mm-hmm. How about like talent-wise and just the best 5-on-5s? Who do you like in this matchup? Think Georgia's a better team, or
yeah, Georgia is for sure the better team. Georgia, top to bottom, more highly recruited. They are top to bottom, more experienced. Even though St. Louis does have a couple of strong senior players, Georgia is more experienced top to bottom. And just the athleticism. I mean, if you've watched Georgia play this year, you have Georgia will run about. Mike White will run about 9 to 10 deep. Some games, he runs 8 deep, but like he's rotating guys in, and the guys he's bringing in are guys like Kareem Stagg. They're guys like Jake Wilkins, Dominique Wilkins' son. They're just athletes coming off the bench. Smurf Millender, really good with the ball. Obviously, you mentioned Wilkinson, but Santos Surreal and Blue Cane. I mean, top to bottom, I just think Georgia has the better roster, but more athletic, more physical, which I think is going to be really important in this game. I think Georgia has played the gauntlet of the SEC where, you see more flagrant fouls, I think, than any conference. If you watch SEC basketball, people just getting, wiped out. So I think Georgia top to bottom is set up better than St. Louis. But at the end of the day, man, yeah, we saw it. You saw it with Steph Curry. I mean, Steph Curry, clearly no one on St. Louis's team is Steph Curry. But you see players who are in basketball, there are players who at times can take over a game, and you're just like, but I think 5-on-5, I think Georgia has a big advantage.
Yeah, should be good. Georgia,
Mhm.
2.5-point spread. And I guess looking at the matchup. So who's the X factor? This player has to play well for Georgia to win. Who's the one that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear for me. It's going to be Blue Cane, and
Hmm.
the reason being is like Blue Cane. If you look at Georgia's losses compared to their wins, it almost always comes down to Blue Cane's ability to either shoot from three or really just to take care of the ball, not turn it over. Blue Cane's a really good basketball player, but he went through a slump when Georgia went through that losing streak of losing 5 of 6 games, where I think at one point he's like 1 for 19 from three.
Wow.
He just, and so I think he's going to be the key for Georgia because um, if he is playing well, then it forces a team like St. Louis to pick your poison, right? So if he's off, then they can double team Cannon Catchings, for example. They can double team Jeremiah Wilkinson if he gets streaky. But if Blue Cane's hitting, then it's going to stretch the defense. So that's going to be my pick. Also, Santos Surreal, like let's just not get ejected, big guy. Like he's he's gotten some elbows up around the head in some games and gotten thrown out of a few games, and so I think he's going to have to keep things in check. Those two guys are going to be the biggest key to the game.
Yeah, man, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm just completely guessing. I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm gonna go late Blue Cane 3 to win 94-89, and we cover.
God,
And,
I love it.
and then we move on. And my next question is, how do you like us? Do we have any shot against looks like a buzzsaw #1 Michigan if we do win? Do you like that matchup at all? A little
Man,
run, maybe.
I hate that matchup.
Okay.
I do think it is the best of. Well, Duke may have been a better matchup because of because of their ability to because of their injuries, and they're going to have to rely on one point guard. But Michigan, I hate this matchup with Michigan. I think it's truly a nightmare for Georgia,
Right.
mostly because Michigan is similar to St. Louis, except much better from three. And man, they can stretch defense and they can really score. And Georgia just has had problems stopping people from scoring. So, but I mean, that's why you play this game. That's why you have Cinderellas. There have been plenty of times where you've had a team that really, for all intents and purposes, should not have had a shot, and they've found a way to win the game. But I think Michigan, it does. Yeah, I would much rather have been playing Duke, to be honest. I think maybe maybe Florida, like even though Georgia has really struggled with Florida, um, but I think Arizona and Michigan were probably the two worst you could have drawn.
Right. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yep.
speaking of Cinderella, give me maybe Cinderella team that makes a run and makes it interesting. And then who's your? I know you filled out a bracket. I assume who's your pick to win it all?
Yeah, my pick, my. It's hard. It's hard with Cinderella teams, like true Cinderella teams, because I just think with NIL and transfer portal and stuff, it's hard for a real Cinderella team to make a run. But if I have to pick one, I don't sleep on Texas. I know they just beat NC State by 2. I know that they lost the SEC tournament, but Texas has Sean Miller, who coached at Arizona, a really good basketball coach. Texas has some guards that can really play, and if those guys can put it together, along with the kid's name that I cannot pronounce, but it sounds like a prescription drug. That kid is one of the best kids like I've seen play this year, and I have to look up his name because I legitimately can't pronounce it. But when you look at Texas and you look at Dalen Swain and this Vokiatitis. It sounds like, if you have a case of Vokiatitis when you wake up in the morning, like go to the urgent care. But that guy is really good. So I think Dalen Swain and Vokiatitis, if those guys can get going, Texas can make a run. My pick to win it all is hate the world that we live in, but it is the world that we live in. But my pick to win it all is going to be Arizona. I just think Arizona is a really, really, really good basketball team. And I think we live on the East Coast and people, a lot of Georgia fans don't follow college basketball in general.
Right.
But also living on the East Coast and not following college basketball. Living on the East Coast, you miss teams like Arizona and seeing them play a lot. Arizona is a really, really good basketball team. And I think at one point they've lost, I'll say this, they've lost 2 games, and they lost those 2 games that they lost. They lost their first game when they were 23-0. And they lost to number 9 at the time. It was number 9 Kansas by 4. And then they lost to number 16 at the time, Texas Tech, by 3. And they have since won their last 9 in a row now. So they won 23.
They got
lost 2 by a combined 7 points, and then have won 9 in a row. I mean, it's just a really, really good basketball team.
Yeah. But I got them in my Final Four too, so that should be good.
Yep.
And I guess you do like Texas beating BYU. Is that what you're saying? That first,
I do, man. I think it stacks up for Texas pretty well. If you look at the bracket, again, when you say make a Cinderella making a run, I don't think there's not going to be. My personal favorite Cinderella was 2013 Florida Gulf Coast. It was Dunk City, and those guys, dude, man, those guys. That was the first team that I saw that felt like a transfer portal team. It was like these guys that were just really good, that came from different bigger schools, and they came and all went to Florida Gulf Coast, and they just came out and were dunking on everybody and just embarrassing some really, really good basketball teams. I just think it's hard to do that because of the money that the bigger schools have. But Texas, man, they have money, they have players, they have a really good coach. It's just going to be a matter of, can they put it all together? And if they do, I definitely think they could beat BYU, and I think they can maybe shock the world and win a couple more.
All right, we'll see. I like it. Texas fans, they'll enjoy that.
Yeah, it's for my buddy Ghost. My buddy Ghost Cord Samuels. Shout out Cord. Big Texas fan.
Okay, good deal. And then real quick, did you agree and do you like the contract extension for Mike White? I assume
I didn't. At the end of the day, I think Mike White is a really good basketball coach. And I think Mike White has gotten Georgia exactly where Georgia should be. Regardless of people, people are going to fight me about expectations, and Georgia should be. Listen, Georgia won the most games they've ever won in a regular season in program history, and they made back-to-back NCAA tournaments. If they go out and lay an egg, then you've laid an egg in the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament, so maybe we can argue then. But I think Mike White, I didn't love the timing of the extension because I don't think anybody was knocking down the door to hire Mike White. Yeah. I think Mike White is very much this is not disrespectful to the person I'm going to say, but he's very much the Mark Richt of Georgia basketball, right? I think he's a really good coach. I think he can get Georgia and the program competing. Yeah, I think that Georgia has beaten some really, really good basketball teams this year. And I think he's probably the guy that lays the foundation for the next guy to come in and have the resources and, all the stuff to actually get over the hump. But I was fine with it because I don't think, I just don't think Georgia, I think Georgia fans, myself included for a while, just the expectations are just not aligned, right? If the operating budget is $10 million and Tennessee's operating budget is $23 million for basketball, it's a little bit of a difference. And so until those resources start coming in, I think Mike White is doing well above what other coaches could do in the same position.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You got back-to-back tournament visits, and gotta give it to him. Who else are you going to get? And he's setting the groundwork. So
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like in basketball, like I said, Georgia has the stigma of being a football school. You gotta overcome. You gotta show a blueprint that it can actually, that you can actually win a couple of games in an NCAA tournament. You can actually maybe win an SEC tournament or win a couple of games in an SEC tournament. You just got to show those things, and I think he'll get there.
Yes, sir. And then real quick, just because it started yesterday,
yeah,
spring ball is here. Dawgs getting back on the field. Alyssa Kirby Smart's press conference. What would you like to see, or what players would you like to see coming up? And also, any update if G-Day is going to be on TV or is it just going to be in person again? Any
I think G-Day is just going to be in person again. If I had to bet, that's not an official. There hasn't been any official announcement that I've seen. But listen, I am so excited to see this wide receiver room, and we say it every year, but I do think with Isaiah Canyon, and then you have Talon Taylor, you have CJ Wiley, you have Craig Dandridge, who is a really, really good freshman coming in. Landon Roldan, don't sleep on that guy. That's another one. Sokobi White, like, I'm just excited to see if this wide receiver room can take a step forward. And that's what I want to see. And I think you get a chance, you get a chance to see that in G-Day. G-Day, Georgia notoriously, airs it out. You're not out there getting in the trenches and rolling people up, running the ball 50 times or whatever. But I'm just excited to see like Talon Taylor is probably the top of my list. I mean, that kid, you don't get on the field at Georgia as a true freshman versus Alabama, in that game and get that ball thrown to you if you don't have something. And that kid, so he clearly has something. And I'm excited to see him. And then obviously London Humphreys, coming back is going to be big. But excited to see them on the offensive side of the ball. And then, on the defensive side of the ball, I'm really, really, really excited to see what happens with these linebackers. I think, we've seen it over and over where Roquan Smith, left, and then you have Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, and then they leave, and then you have for a while you had JD, Jamon Dumas Johnson, those guys. Now you had CJ Allen, right? Who's going to be the next guy that steps up? Obviously, Raylan Wilson is that candidate. But I'm excited to see Justin Williams. I'm excited to see Zayden Walker. I think that linebacker group is going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking forward to seeing in the spring. And then, obviously as the year goes on, it's going to take the whole team. But I think if you look at Georgia, the last couple of years, it truly has been, can we get an explosive downfield passing attack that people really have to defend? And then when we get in this year, it was the playoffs, but when you get in, and last year I guess it was too, although I thought the defense played really well against Notre Dame. But when you get in the playoffs, can you have linebackers that can cover? Can you get pressure on the quarterback? Can you, going throughout the year, that's why I'm excited to see what those guys have, because I think they're going to be the key to it at the end.
Yeah, I agree with all that. How about, do we see him in what position? Everybody's really high on the Caden Prothro kid. You think you see him at tight end, kind of hybrid? He's built like a wideout. Hopefully, put some weight on him.
I think of course. I think so Todd Hartley. I sent Todd Hartley a hat. He talked about it at a press conference one time. I sent Todd Hartley a hat that said "Run the damn 13 personnel." And he said at the press conference, last year after I sent him that hat, and he talked about it, he said, it's like he's going to try to get all the tight ends on the field. And so 13 personnel is having 3 tight ends out there. He's going to try to get all of them out there. I think you're definitely going to see Caden Prothro. But man, I will tell you, people are not talking. So people are talking about, obviously, Lawson Lucky's coming back. People are talking about Ellis Williams. People are talking about Caden Prothro. Ethan Barbour, God, y'all. I mean, this kid, who, I think Ethan Barbour could have been the best tight end on the team last year. No disrespect to Oscar Delp. I think Lawson Lucky, they split him out more last year, so I'm counting, kind of guys who played more in line. But I think he could have been the best tight end on the team last year if he hadn't broken his leg. So watch out for that guy.
Okay, Ethan Barbour. It's a good under the radar pick.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Jon, appreciate you coming on. How we follow you on social media?
Yeah, at Jon Tweets Sports. Come on and hop on. I'm trolling Auburn today, which is always fun because Auburn, the official Auburn account tweeted, "Congratulations, coach, to Stephen Pearl for getting 18 wins." So Auburn was 18-16 or 18-17. Did not make the NCAA tournament after being, damn near Final Four team the last few years.
Performance trophy.
So exactly, yeah, exactly. Such a participation trophy. They so far below their expectations, and of course the Auburn basketball account decides to tweet out today. Congratulations, the most wins by a first-year coach in Auburn program history.
Good luck going to the NIT if you want.
Good luck. They won their NIT game last night, so I guess they're feeling pretty good about themselves. But no, but follow me at Jon Tweets Sports, and also follow. I assume that if folks are listening, they are subscribed to your show. They are following you. But if you're not, if you found your way here by something that I'll tweet this out. If you found your way here, subscribe to the show, follow Trey and the Doghouse podcast. Really, really good people.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, Jon. Thanks again for coming on. Check them out. Dogs play Thursday, 9:45, maybe a little later on CBS. Hopefully we can get the win and make it interesting against Michigan.
Got it.
Awesome. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the Doghouse podcast. We'll have some more content coming up soon. Thank you. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.